Well, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, depending on where it is that you are watching me from. I want to say a special hello to anyone that is watching, whether you are watching live or if you are watching the replay. For those of you who have not yet had the opportunity to meet me, my name is Rhonda M. Jordan, and I come to you live on Wednesdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. And my goal is to provide you with information that's going to assist you in growing a business where you are creating and selling digital products. So, for those of you that have been on with me previously, one of the things that I always encourage you to do is to watch my trainings with a notepad and pen so that you can take notes on the information or however it is that you prefer to take notes. The most important thing is to get the information and be able to implement it. And one of the best ways to implement it is to be able to go back to your notes, review what you learned, and then implement it step by step. So if you happen to be on with me, I would love to hear you say hello. You can jot that in the comments. Just let me know where it is that you are watching from, and so that I can say hello to you. And then also, what I want to do is to share with you what I'm going to be discussing today. And today, what I'm going to be doing is teaching you how to build an audience from scratch. I mean, I'm assuming that you either have no followers or you have a very small number of followers, subscribers, whatever the case is. And what we're going to be talking about is how you can grow that. And I'm going to give you some steps and strategies that will allow you to do that. And one of the reasons why this particular topic is near and dear to my heart is because I can remember when I was first getting started, one of the things that I always struggled with was how to build an audience. And it was because I just didn't know the steps. I mean, I'm one of those people that if you teach me the steps, I'll implement them. And that's probably the type of individual you are. You just may not know the steps and you just need for someone to put them in order and tell you exactly what to do, and then you can be off to the races. So that's the information you're going to get on today's training. So just remember, when you comment, there is, or if I say something, there might be a slight delay. So if you comment and you don't see me respond right away, I'm either in the middle of a training concept that I don't want to break, or there's a bit of a delay. So just kind of keep that in mind as we go through. So let's talk about why this is even necessary, and let's talk about this in terms of when you should start building an audience. I know that for many of you who are watching this, your goal is to be able to sell digital products. And for a lot of people, the first thing that they do is they feel as though they should create the digital product and then find an audience to sell it to. Now, that is a strategy that you can follow. I'm not here to tell you that that's wrong, because there are individuals that do it that way. What I think is a strategy that works for more people and works better on average is to build an audience and then nurture that audience and finally be able to sell your digital products. And I'll share with you why. Now, let me go back for a second and talk about, for example, someone that wants to create the digital product first and then sell it. As I mentioned, you can do that. But typically, what that is going to require you to do is one of two things. Either you're going to need to put it on a platform such as Etsy or Gumroad or something like that, where there is a built-in number of people that are already on that platform that are searching for whatever it is that your digital product happens to be. Definitely a strategy that can be used. The second type of individual would have to run ads, because if no one knows who you are, they don't know your teaching style, one of the ways to do it is you can run Facebook or Instagram ads, or any other platform for that matter. But understand that it takes time to learn how to run ads properly. It takes time to get the the wording right, the things that are going to attract people. And also, you have to know how to tweak those ads. And for most people watching my videos, you are solopreneurs, which means you are the only person that is making your business work. So I can tell you that can be a bit of a challenge. I'm going to go back to the whole Etsy thing because I know a lot of people will put their products on Etsy. You can do that. However, I don't recommend it. And I'm going to tell you why I don't recommend it. There's nothing wrong with the Etsy platform per se. What I think you run up against is, for example, all the competition. If you go on Etsy and you type in whatever your digital product is called, so if it's Canva templates, if it is a planner, if it's whatever, there are going to literally be hundreds, if not thousands, of other people who are, in fact, creating or have created that exact same product. Now, you may have put your twist on it, you may have different colors and so forth, but here's what typically tends to happen. Not only do you have the competition, but because there's so much competition, people, you may end up in a position where you have to drastically discount your product in order for it to sell. Now, I don't know about you, but when you put a lot of hard work into creating a product, you want to maximize your profits. At least I do, and I think that's true of most people. The other thing I'm going to tell you is very successful creators, 9 times out of 10, are not selling on Etsy as a regular course of business. Now, they might have one or two products on there in order to, for example, become known. But most people don't. I mean, it's just not the place that most people choose to sell. Because, see, here's the thing. If you can build your own audience, you can eliminate the competition of platforms such as Etsy. And that's what I want you to get from this training. I want you to feel comfortable knowing that you can, in fact, build an audience. If you've tried up to this point and it hasn't worked for you, that's just because either you haven't given it enough time to work, or number two, the strategy that you're using just does not work. And that's what I find with most people what it is, because I'm here to tell you, you can absolutely build an audience. I don't care what it is that you are offering. There's going to be someone that is, in fact, interested in that exact same thing. And so I want to, first of all, get that out of the way. This training is not about teaching you how to sell on Etsy or any of the other selling platforms. It's about teaching you how to build an audience and being able to sell to that audience using, your own either account, meaning your website, or I'm going to introduce you to a software that I think does a very good job. Now, if you already have something in place, then ignore the software that I'm going to be introducing you to. But let's get into the information because I've talked a lot about it. And as I mentioned, if you have any questions as we're going through this, I want you to feel comfortable dropping in those questions and allowing me to answer them for you. Okay, so the first thing that I want to do is to find out. A little bit about where it is you are in the process. Have you started to build an audience? If so, how have you chosen a specific platform, or are you using multiple platforms? And then the second thing is, how do you feel that your audience is growing? So just drop it in the chat and let me know. So, all right, now let me also talk about a reason why when people create a product before they create an audience, one of the challenges they can run across. Okay, that's the first thing. Now, here's what I see happen. When you create a product and you don't yet have an audience, you're really kind of betting the farm on that particular product being what your audience actually wants. And what you're going to find is your audience, once you build it, they're going to tell you what you want. So when you then are able to create a product, you already have a built-in group of people who are ready to buy. When you create the product first, there's no guarantee that the audience you ultimately build is going to be interested in your product. So I don't want you wasting time. For most of us who are on here, here, that's not our goal, is to sit up and waste time. Our goal is to build the audience, nurture the audience, and then get to a point where we can sell to them. All right. Now, let's also talk about having a loyal audience. And as you start to build your audience, you're going to find that there are going to be individuals that are going to open every email that you have. There are going to be individuals that are going to comment and like. They're going to respond to your email messages. They're going to tell you what they're struggling with. And that's the group of people that you're going to be able to create those products for. Those individuals I like to refer to as your target audience, or your ICA, your ideal customer. And the A stands for avatar, which means it's not a real person. It's just a compilation of individuals that want something. Okay. That's what we're going to be doing, is to create, we want to get to a point where we can create products for them. So let's talk about how you can go about the process of actually building the audience. And if you see me looking down, I'm looking at my notes. So I always come to these trainings with notes, because there's things that I just don't want to forget and I want to be able to share with you. All right. So the first thing that you should know, and you want to just internalize, is that the content you create is going to act as a magnet to draw in the audience that you ultimately want to have, which means the content that you create needs to be targeted. It needs to be focused in on that ideal customer that you want to attract into your audience. Now, here's what's going to happen. And if you see me going off script here and I have to come back, it's okay. I just have things in my brain that I don't want to forget to tell you. One of the things that's going to happen is, as you begin to create this content and you start to post it, you're going to have crickets. No one's going to be responding to you, and it's going to be easy for you to think that your content is just not working. That's not at all the case. Okay. What it is you haven't yet created enough content to draw in the audience. Another thing I want to share with you. As I mentioned, most of you who are watching this, you are a solopreneur, which means you're doing everything. I don't want you to attempt to share content on every single platform out there. I know you see other creators doing that, and I know that you see that they're getting, lots of likes and comments and responses and questions and so forth. But let me also give you the secret. Those content creators have teams, or at least they have a virtual assistant. So it's not just them that's creating and posting all of that content. Here's what I want you to do, and I promise you this once you internalize it and do it, it's going to save you so much time. You need to pick one platform. And you need to dedicate your time to growing the audience on that platform. That one platform, you have to have evaluated it to make sure that your ideal customer is on that platform. If you're trying to post on multiple platforms, a few things are going to happen. One, you're going to get frustrated because it's difficult to post on 3 or 4 different platforms. Number two, you're going to burn out because it takes a lot of content being created for all those different platforms. And number three, you're really not going to have the opportunity to maximize all of the information that, or not information, but all of the resources that you could for a specific platform. And I'm going to share with you my chosen platform and how I go about doing it. All right. Now, as I mentioned, when you are creating content, you have to have decided what it is your audience is struggling with. Because when you are posting content on these platforms, your focus should really be not on trying to entertain people that are on the platform. Your focus should be on solving the problems that your ideal customer has, and that is what's going to attract them to you. Now, here's when I talk about your ideal customer, one thing I want you to think about is, who is your ideal customer? In most cases, your ideal customer is just a previous version of yourself. It's you from 2 years ago when you were struggling trying trying to figure out, let's say you're in photography, and you're teaching beginning photographers, what type of things were you struggling with? Were you struggling with settings on the camera? I know I struggle with that. Were you struggling with lighting? Were you struggling with sound? Whatever it happens to be, if you're doing video. So just think about the things you were struggling with and write those things down. Because if you struggled with them, then 9 times out of 10, your ideal customer, if that's, where they are, they're struggling with those same things too. So I want you to think about those things, write them down, and then you're going to prepare content around those. Now, how can you prepare that content? It can be in a variety of formats. So, for example, it might be a checklist that you are willing to offer them. Now, that I would probably reserve more so for getting them on our email list, and we're going to talk about that in a second. But one of the things I absolutely love are tips. Just one of your posts could just be a tip. When it could be something, let's go back to that photography example. It could be something like, if you are taking pictures in this particular type of lighting outside, taking pictures of your kids, these are the settings that I use, and this is the camera that I use. It could be something as simple as that, because now people are going to come to know that that's the kind of content that you share. And for someone who's a beginner, the content that you're sharing with tips on really simple things is going to be extremely helpful to them. You might think, well, everybody, that's in this particular area knows these things. No, they don't. And so a lot of people will go to a social media account because of the types of tips that they share. Now, how can you share those? You can share them in the form of, let's say, a short video if you're really into video. You could share it as a post where you just, share the content. Write it out as a post, and maybe you have a picture that shows the end result. There's just so many different ways that you can do this. And I'll show you some examples of things that I've posted that are really helpful for people. Another thing that you can do is just give people things in the form of for example, you're giving them steps. So let's say that they are trying to accomplish something. You could say, all right, I'm going to give you a 5-step strategy on what it is that you would need to do in order to accomplish X, Y, and Z. And you could do that even as a carousel post. If you don't know what a carousel post is, it is simply a series of pictures that people can click to the next one. So you can say, struggling with whatever, all right, here's what you're going to do. And the first picture is going to have step 1. The second one is going to have step 2. The third one's going to have step 3. Step 4. And then you can say, if you really like this type of content, then, I've got a free guide that will help you out. You can just request that. See, what we're doing is we're setting it up in such a way that we are giving helpful information, but then we're allowing people to go deeper with us by getting them onto our email list. Why is that important? Because you don't own the people that ultimately join you on your social media account. Okay, so you have to get them off of social media and onto your email list, and you're going to do that through a lead magnet. We're not going to get too deep into that because this is all about building an audience. Now, when you are creating content, what I want you to do is to break that content up into 3 to 5 content pillars. What's a content pillar? A content pillar is just the best way to describe it is it's just a bucket of like topics, if you will. So let me give you an example. What my content buckets, because I know who my ideal customer is going to be digital products, teaching people how to create it, content creation. Okay. I'm also going to be talking about things like affiliate marketing, So those are the things I'm going to talk about. Why do I talk about those things? Because people who are in my audience are interested in those things. So you're going to make sure that you have content buckets, which are going to act as a guide, if you will, to keep you on track. Because it's very easy when you are creating content to just start going off the rails. For example, I do not teach YouTube video creation. I don't do that. And the reason for that is that's not one of my content pillars, simply because I'm not really interested in teaching that. YouTube video creation changes so much, and it's just not my thing. Do I do that? Do I create YouTube videos? Absolutely. Do I know how to do it? Yes, I do. But you got to stay in your lane. Okay. And the reason you've got to stay in your lane is when your audience comes to you, they're interested in hearing about those content pillars, the things that you've put into those content pillars. So, what I want you to do is at some point today, or by, let's say, this weekend, I want you to determine what your content pillars are going to be based upon your ideal customer. And then what I want you to do is to think about maybe 5 tips that you could give somebody in each of the content pillars. And then I want you to think about 5 strategies you could share with them. Okay. What that's going to give you, if you have 3 content pillars, what that's going to give you is easily 30 pieces of content. Why is that important? Because your goal to build an audience is going to be to share a piece of content every single day for 90 days. Every single day. Don't skip a day. Now, I don't want you to think that this is going to put you on the content creation hamster wheel. It isn't, because I have another strategy I'm going to share with you down the road. But here's the thing. It's typically going to take about 90 days for you to start getting noticed by people who are interested in your content. Part of the reason for that is because the algorithms on these different platforms have to figure out what it is you do, what you talk about, and so forth. And then they'll help you find the audience by serving up your content to that audience. Okay. Here's where most people go wrong in their audience building strategy, if you will. One, they don't have a strategy. And number two, they don't give it the time necessary to things to work in their favor. They'll post consistently for 3 days. And then, oh my goodness, I forgot. I don't have anything that I can post today. So they fall off. And then since they didn't post yesterday, it's like, well, I'll just wait and start next week. No, that is not going to work. You have to look at this part of it if you want to ultimately be able to sell digital products. Content creation to draw in your audience is part of your job. Okay. It just has to be. And where, as I said, I see a lot of people going wrong is they'll take that content that they've created for 3 days and now they're putting it on Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn and Threads and, wherever else. But they're not going to be able to stay consistent with it. And you also have to remember this. Every piece of content you create is not going to work on every platform. So not only do you need to think about the content that you're going to be creating, you need to make sure that based upon your chosen platform, that it's going to work for that platform. Let me give you an example. Let's say, for example, you are a person that wants to do mostly post. You don't want to, create videos or anything like that. Well, that's probably not going to do extremely well on a platform like Instagram, because Instagram has moved more video based in the form of reels. That is probably not going to do extremely well on, a YouTube platform, for example. So your content and your platform need to line up. If you really just want to do written posts, then maybe you need to focus on something like Threads. You might be able to get away with something on Facebook, but I can tell you Facebook's the same as Instagram. They're owned by the same company. And Reels are going to do way better on those platforms than written content is going to do. So line up your content with the platform itself. Meaning, serve up content in a way that people on that platform are accustomed to receiving it or the way they want to receive it. All right. Okay. I've really beat that one. So, does anyone have any questions on any of that I've shared? Like I said, feel free if you're getting any value out of this as well, give me some thumbs up so I know that it's resonating with you in some way. All right, let's go back to the type of content that I want you to create. And I'm actually going to share with you my framework. So give me a second. I'm going to switch over, go full screen here for a second, and I'll put my comments here because I want to show you something that I call the 5 types of content that I believe work best. All right. So give me a second to make sure I'm in focus here. All right. So this is the type of content, my 5 E's. Now, I know you're going to say, Rhonda, can you not count? There's only 4 things on there. I'm going to share with you the one that works best. So here are things that I want you to really incorporate into your strategy. 1, engaging type of content. You have to, for example, when you're creating content, don't just have the exact same thing. So if someone was to go through your feed, they're not going to just see post after post after post after post. That gets boring. Now, most people don't see content in that format, but there are people that will go to your page and they're going to look at the content. So the content that you want to create that's engaging is going to include things such as polls. Now, here's what I would suggest you do when you do a poll. Make it so super simple that all people have to do is click something or type one word. If you're asking them to give you, a whole overview of something, they are not going to do it. So it could be something like, if you're trying to engage with your audience, it could be something as simple as popcorn or potato chips. Which one? What's your favorite snack? Another thing, let's see here. Give me one second. I want to look at something we have here. Oh, thank you. Repotted Change for Better. I love that name too. I'm glad that the information is helping you. Okay, so popcorn or potato chips, sweet or salty. Now, I don't know, maybe I'm hungry and I'm talking about those types of things. But think about things you can ask people. So, for example, one of the things that I've asked people on my YouTube post page, which is where that's my platform of choice. If I haven't said that before, it's YouTube. All right. So one of the things that I've asked people before is, here are 4 different things. What's your favorite digital product? What type of digital product? Now, I know you said, but that's requiring them to do something. With the type of poll that I'm showing them, all they do is click because I have pictures of it and I'll pull some of that up in a little bit. All they have to do is click. And so what it's doing is it's engaging them. But the other thing it's doing is it's giving me data. So you have to understand, like, for example, one of the things I asked is, of these digital products, which one is your favorite way to receive content? And I think I had something like videos and I don't know what the other ones were. But the one thing that came out was people really were into ebooks. So that was the way they preferred to learn. And I was a little surprised by that. So if you've been wondering if, in fact, ebooks are, like that's gone by the wayside, it has not. People are very interested in that. Okay. The second type of thing is going to be entertaining content. Things that make people laugh. So, you can think of content that made you laugh, but I still want it to be relatively related to your niche. So, for example, you could I don't know, you can come up with something. Go to Google, type in quotes, come up with something in your niche or whatever, or use Chat GPT. Of course, that's another way that you can find it. But just, something that makes people laugh. Why is that important? Because you want to present to people that you're not always serious. That, there's a side of you in this whole world of building whatever it is or training on whatever you do that still likes to laugh, that still likes to enjoy things, that still, enjoys being silly every now and then because there's nothing wrong with that. So make sure you do that. Now, here's another one: encouraging content. That's that get back up, kind of content. It's the I know it's been a tough week. I know that you released a piece of content and it didn't perform well. I know that you intended to, during this week of vacation you took off from your job, you intended to get something done relative to your business and everything went crazy. That's okay. You're human. Get back up. That's what I consider to be encouraging content. Okay, so that is definitely something that you want to incorporate. The fourth thing is going to be empowering content. That's that you got this kind of stuff. Because one of the things that you're going to find with your audience, regardless of what it is that they do, is in some cases, they're going to be a little bit uncertain, unsure. They may even, depending on the area of interest that or your niche, they may even have imposter syndrome. What's imposter syndrome? That's that feeling of, I don't have any business doing this because there are other people that are much better at this than I am. Or I don't have any business doing this because I don't know enough yet. So you want to kind of give people that whole thing, empowering them in such a way that you're letting them know you got this. I felt that way as well. So, share that type of content with people. All right, now here is the type of content, give me one second, that I really feel is the most effective. Now, I'm not saying it's the only type of content because if doing entertaining, funny stunts, pranks and all of that is your thing, then you need to focus more on entertaining. But if you are attempting to share information in such a way that you're teaching people so you can ultimately be at a point where you are able to sell them digital products based upon knowledge that you've obtained, then this is your lane. I'm not saying you don't do this all the time, or that you do this all the time, because you need to incorporate those others. So thanks, Ashioma. I appreciate you saying that. I definitely want to make sure that any content that I'm sharing with you all is in fact valuable. All right. So let's go through, and I've talked a little bit about this already, but we're going to go through because I want to give you something. I'm going to tell you one thing that I think is going to just this is definitely going to help you grow your audience. All right, so we've talked about educational content, teaching people things. That's what where you're going to really be able to shine if, in fact, you're transferring your knowledge from yourself to other people that are within your niche. So tips, we've already talked about that. Here's a tip that you can do that will allow you to do whatever. Strategies, here's how to do it. Okay. And I'm going to give you kind of a something you need to write this down and remember, which is I want you to give away free the what. Write that down. I want you to give away for free the what, and I want you to sell the how. Okay. That's your nugget of wisdom for this section of the training. Give away the what. You can tell people what they need to do, but if in fact they want to learn how to do it step by step, I want you to put that into a digital product or, a training of some sort. All right. So just kind of remember that. Now, how to do something, tutorials, that type of thing. Again, you could start off. How can you do that? I thought you just said to sell that. Well, here's what you can do. You can give away, for example, the first part of it. Maybe like if you have a 3-part module, a course, let's say that's 3 modules. Well, you might be able to give away some of what is in lesson 1. Maybe that's what you give away, because now what you've done is you've encouraged people by saying, okay, let me show you my teaching style by teaching you this. If you want to go deeper, keep that phrase in mind. If you want to go deeper, I have a full course that teaches you everything. Okay. So just kind of write that down. Now, here's where you're really going to be able to shine: answering simple questions. I cannot tell you how much this can help you grow an audience, because you're going to be surprised at the number of people that go to their chosen platform and they type in the search bar, how do I do whatever? Whatever your niche is, or they just type in the phrase itself. And so you want to be at a point where, let's say, if they go to Google, because remember that if you're using YouTube as your chosen platform, if they go to Google and they type in, how do I do X, or, and put it in quotation marks, which means they want that exact phrase, you have the ability to pop up if you have content on that, particularly if you have YouTube videos, because YouTube owns, which one? I always get it wrong. Google, I believe. YouTube owns Google, or Google owns YouTube. They're in the same family. Let's put it that way. Uh, so the next thing is if you have a blog. So, for example, if you have a blog and someone is on Google searching for that, it's possible your blog post may show up. If you have created a digital product and you have a landing page, or if you have let's say a lead magnet that you're giving away, if you have used SEO, engine optimization, meaning you have optimized that, people can find you. So these are all the ways you're going to build your audience. People are not going to find you solely by going to social media. There's lots of ways that people can find you. And once people find you, what I want you to make sure is that there's not just one piece of content that they can consume. I want there to be multiple pieces of content. And I'm going to go back for a second to that, or in a second, I'll go back to that whole 90-day strategy I was talking about. All right, now, another thing you can share with people is shortcuts. So, for example, let me just give you an example of something. I have all of this equipment here. You don't see it. Okay, thank goodness. But I have all of this equipment that I use for live streaming and creating videos. All right. When I am live streaming, there is a sequence of things that I go through and I do that allow me to be on air at noon Eastern time. Okay. I turn on my lights. I restart my computer. I shut down everything that does not need to be running on my computer. All I'm saying is that could be put into a checklist, because a lot of people don't realize what needs to be done and they're trying to figure it out. So give them some shortcuts. How do you give them shortcuts? You can give them a checklist. You can do it as a tip, so that is definitely, or do it as tips, but, just share it with you. So, for example, if people are trying to remember all that stuff in their head, you can say, instead of trying to do all that, why not just create a simple checklist and keep it handy on your desk? Sometimes the things that are the most logical to you and the most basic don't necessarily occur to other people. Now, it just means that they've just never thought about it. So just kind of think of shortcuts that you could share with people. For example, if you're into knitting, what type of shortcuts could you share with someone who is new to knitting? Maybe there's a specific, I don't know anything about knitting, so, don't hold it against me. But maybe there is a way to, I don't know, hold your needles or store your yarn or whatever that you know how to do. It works for you. You've taught it to other people or shared it with others and they've benefited from it. So that's another thing. And then in general, just always focus on solving problems, because that is what people are there for. They're trying to get their problems solved. And what you get paid for as someone who creates digital products is to solve people's problems. You get paid to solve people's problems. Just keep that in mind. All right. Okay. So let's go back and see here. All right. Give away the what? for free and sell the how. Exactly right. So definitely kind of keep that in mind as you're going through things. All right, now let's go back here. I'm going to go full screen again. Okay, so I want to go back to where I was talking about that 90-day content creation strategy. A lot of people, as I said, are only going to make it through the first week and they're going to give up. So your goal is to just focus on consistency. Are you going to get everything right in that 90 days? No, you're not. Are you going to create pieces of content that don't resonate with the audience you're attempting to attract? Absolutely, that's going to happen. So, what you also have to do is during this 90-day window of time, you are responsible as a business owner. Remember, you're the CEO of your business, and CEOs always look at their data. So you have to go back and look at which of the posts or content that you created, which pieces performed better. And when you figure out what's performing best, which means it's getting comments, it's getting shared, people are, asking you follow up questions on that, I want you to double down, which means you create more of that because you now have the data that proves that that's what people want. When people ask you questions about how to do X, Y, and Z, that's a data point. So I want you to write that down somewhere where like if you have a content idea book, which you should have, if you don't have it, or some kind of way that you track your ideas, you need to write that down because there's going to come a time where your mind is a complete blank. You're going to feel like, what could I possibly create today that's going to help somebody? And what's going to happen is if you have this content idea book or spreadsheet or however you decide to track it, you can go there and get ideas. Your audience, I can tell you, as you start to attract them and they start commenting, they're going to give you some of your best ideas. I can promise you that because they're telling you what they want to learn. So you definitely want to make sure that you are writing all of that stuff down to be able to go to it at a point when you are creating new pieces of content. Now, when I mentioned creating 90 days of content, you don't have to have 90 separate pieces of content. No, you absolutely don't. What you are going to be able to do after about the first 30 days or so is recycle that content and maybe rephrase it. I'll tell you some things that I've personally done that allow me to consistently have content. It's sometimes I'll change up the colors and use one of my other brand colors and simply go into Canva, change the color on it, and download it and repost it. Now, I might sometimes, depending on how I'm feeling, I might actually change the caption that goes along with that image. But most of the time, quite frankly, I'm reusing the same thing. So I want you to understand the concepts of reusing and repurposing your content. So don't feel like you have to have 90 days of content. Now, as time goes on, you'll continue to add pieces of content to your overall content library. That's a lot of saying the word content. You'll start to do that, but I don't want you to feel like you have to have 90 separate pieces of content. Now, why is that? You're thinking, well, my audience is already seeing that. No, they probably haven't. Because whatever platform you happen to be on, two things are going to happen. Number one, only about 3 to 4% of your audience is going to see any piece of content that you post. That's just the reality. The second thing is your audience is going to continue to grow. New people are going to find you and come into your audience. They haven't seen any of the stuff that you've posted previously. And some people who are in your audience need to hear the information again. I mean, think of all the things that you've heard and then you filed it away. You never did anything with it because you forgot about it ultimately. And then it comes back around a month later or 2 months later or 3 months later. And you're like, oh yeah. So don't feel uncomfortable about doing that. The whole thing is your goal is to just make sure that the content you create stays within your pillars and is being posted on a consistent basis. All right. Now, the next thing I want you to do, let me just make sure I haven't missed any of this. Oh, one thing I should have also shared with you is beginning friendly tutorials. Now, I know there's somebody watching this right now that's saying, Rhonda, I don't want to get on camera. Okay, well, don't get on camera, but you can still do a tutorial where you're showing your screen. So, and you don't ever even have to show your face if you don't choose to do that. Now, how can you do it if, what's an easy way to be able to show your screen or record something? Two ways. If you're using your desktop, you can use software like Loom. Loom has a free version where you can actually set it up to actually record your screen. Now, I'm going to share with you something that was taught to me, or I don't even remember how far back, but it probably was 6 months ago, and it just works. So when people respond to my comments on YouTube videos, and they'll ask me a question. I didn't see how to do this, or how do I do X? Sometimes what I will do is I'll go to Loom, I'll record the exact process that they are trying to understand. Okay. Most of the obviously showing my screen, and I'll say, okay, Sarah, here's what you do. You're going to click here, you're going to click on this, you're going to do this, and that will solve your problem. And then I post that Loom, the link to that Loom, as the response to their question. Okay, I'll see if I can find some on here. Let me make sure I'm not sharing my screen. I'm telling you that works like a charm, and I'm going to tell you why it works. It's because people feel like you really cared and you were willing to go the extra mile. Now, I'm not doing that because I'm trying to get brownie points with them. I'm doing it because I really do care. If someone is struggling with something, I feel like, well, if I know how to do it and I can record a Loom in 90 seconds, why wouldn't I do it? Okay. You would be surprised at how helpful that is to people. Let me just see if I can find something quick where I have responded. Give me just 1 second to get over. And this will be a good time. If you have any questions, you can definitely ask me questions at this point. I want to see if I can get to a video where I did this with somebody without, um, let's see, I think it was on this video where I did this for someone. So let me get to the link and stop it because it's going to start trying to play. Hold on for me 1 second. All right, I'll find it and show it to you. But as I said, just go to loom.com, set up a free account, and if this is appropriate for your audience, it's a great way to actually respond in a way, because not only is that person who was asking you the question going to be able to see the answer, but everybody else in that string is going to be able to see your Loom as well, because all they have to do is just click on the link. Okay? So, I should have had that pulled up. I apologize for not doing that. Um, I'm speaking your language, content repurposing. Listen, I love to repurpose some content. And you know what? I'm not the only one. If you look at most people who are digital product creators, they do too. Because again, we're not in this business to be working 24/7. That is not the goal. The goal is to create a content bank that's large enough for you to be able to allow that thing to work for you in the background while you're doing something else, spending time with family, on vacation, or whatever. Now, I'm not saying you don't have to put the work in up front, because you do, but I'm telling you, these little pieces of content that you create, they're almost going to be like worker bees in a beehive. They're working 24/7. 365, as I mentioned, while you're doing something else. All right. Now, I'm going to go back to this whole thing about, I mentioned the beginner friendly tutorials. That those are great. Lessons learned, whatever the case is that works for your niche. Now, Here's the thing that I know you might be thinking, what happens after 90 days? Do I just get to stop? No, you're going to do it for another 90 days. I never said this stuff was easy. I said it was simple. Okay. We're going to have to put the work in. Now, you have a bank of 90 days of content. So part of that second 90 days is going to include the content you created for the first 90 days. So don't feel like you're going to constantly be creating content. But, maybe new things have happened since you posted the first thing. For example, remember what, two years back, whenever it was that Chat GPT came on the scene? And now there's a way for people to be able to do certain things. So maybe there was a piece of content that was created and now there's a new tool on the market that can allow people to do it faster, better, easier, whatever the case is. Well, maybe you introduce that when you are resharing that content. You can say, hey, remember I shared with you whatever. Well, now there's a new tool on the market that's going to help you do this much quicker. And here's the new tool, but you're sharing the same information. You're just telling them there's something else that's available for them to be able to do it better, to do it faster, to do it, make it easier on them. So just understand that, because in our business, content being out on a platform is just a part of the business. It just really is. All right. Now, another thing that you want to start doing is making sure in this audience building phase that you are present. And here's what I mean by that. When people are watching your content, I want you to give them questions, asking them to engage with your content. You can say, if there's something you would love to learn, drop it in the comments below. Okay. If there's something I wasn't clear about, put it in the comments below. And when they do, you need to respond. I can't tell you how many new content creators ghost. They post and ghost, which means they drop the content in. People like it, start responding, start asking questions, and they don't respond to them. They don't go back and say, okay, you've asked for that. That's definitely something that I will consider. I'll consider adding that. Or thank you for commenting. Or your question is definitely something that I think other people could benefit from. This is a two-way street. And you are not going to build an audience if all you are doing is looking at the comments and, I don't know, getting excited because people commented. No, you have to engage with people. You have to respond to them. You have to, say, hey, I popped over and I visited your YouTube page, or I popped over and I visited your, I don't know, your blog or your, IG account, whatever it is, wherever you're finding them. Looks like you're off to a great start. Give some people some encouragement, but not responding, not commenting, not going back. That is not going to work to build an audience. Now, I'm saying that especially when you are brand new and your audience is fairly small, you need to be doing that. I know that there are going to be very, very large creators that don't have the time to respond to every comment that comes through. But that's not your issue at this point. At this point, you're just trying to build an audience. And one of the best ways to build an audience is to engage with them. It would be kind of like, if you were at a networking event and people came up and they introduced themselves to you and you just stood there and said absolutely nothing. I mean, that's not going to work, So just make sure that you are, in fact, engaging with people. You're liking their responses. You're responding to their comments. You're, engaging in some type of way. I'm telling you, that whole thing about creating a loom If that's your kind of thing, that is definitely a great way to be able to share things. Now, I know some of you are saying, "Well, what if all I'm working with is my cell phone?" Well, most cell phones. I have an iPhone. I can't tell you what happens on an Android. Maybe somebody can drop into the comments and tell me. But on an iPhone, I can actually record my screen and I can actually record a voiceover. Any iPhone, and I have an old iPhone, okay? But you can do that. Well, those types of things can be uploaded to YouTube and that can be shared. You can then share the link. So if it's something that's on a phone that people need to know, or let's say, for example, they ask you a question, how about doing this? Record yourself responding to the question and use that person's name. I'm telling you, this stuff goes a long way because people want to be seen, they want to be heard, they want to be acknowledged, they want to feel good. And for you to be able to say, hey, Candace, it's Rhonda M. Jordan. I'm so glad you watched my video and I know you had this question. Here's the answer to it. I hope that helps you. If there's anything else you'd like to know, drop it in the comments. And so now all I have to do is upload that short video to my YouTube channel. I can make it unlisted. And then I just grab the link and pop it in. And now all they have to do is click on it. And when they do, they're going to hear that message, that personal message from you. So keep that in mind as an option as well. All of these things are going to help you build an audience. Okay. All right. Now, if people are DMing you, a lot of people, the way that they contact me, I get some DMs through my Facebook and my Instagram account, but I'm really not on those platforms all that much. What most people will do is they'll find my website and then they will email me. I get people who are responding to or getting back to me via my email account, and I take the time to respond. Now, I will say sometimes it's going to take me 24 to 48 hours, but I do my very best to respond as quickly as I can. There are times, however, where stuff will end up in my spam folder. And so, I don't get a chance to necessarily respond to that. Another thing is, and I'm kind of getting ahead of myself, but write this down for future, okay? Is as you start to build your email list, from these people that are part of your social media audience, there are going to be times where you can put into your email messages, hey, click this link and let me know whatever. It depends on what the email is, but let me know where you are in the process. And that can start a two-way back and forth, if you will. Okay. The next thing, and I kind of talked about this before, mention people by name. So when you're responding to them, reply using their name. Okay, we all like to be acknowledged, and it just personalizes the communication when you can respond. So, like I mentioned to you, if you're recording those looms, I always say, hey, whoever, and this is what you're going to do. Or if I do a personalized message, I always mention the person by name. I'm encouraging you to do the exact same thing because, again, these types of things go a long way in terms of building that know, like, and trust factor. Now, I haven't really gotten into that, but just understand when we talk know, like, and trust, those things have to be in place before people are going to, in most cases, even follow you or subscribe to your channel. They certainly have to be in place before people are going to buy anything from you. Okay. All right. Now, consistency. So when you are in fact consistent, now people know, like, for example, my process for this on screen or this live streaming that I'm doing here is I will, when I send out my email message to my audience on Tuesday mornings, 6:05 a.m. Eastern time, it always goes out. When I send it out, I will always have some type of valuable information. And then I'll say, I'm going to go deeper into this. And I'm going to do that on a live stream that's going to happen Wednesday, noon Eastern, Here's the link to join me. Now, why did I even share that with you? Because people know I'm going to be sitting in this chair on Wednesdays at noon Eastern time. So even if they miss the email, they know to go to my channel and watch this live stream. Now, here's the thing. And this is probably going to happen to you as well. So when you're posting content, whatever it happens to be, don't assume that the day that you post it is, and looking at the statistics or the analytics on it, is reflective of how many people are going to see that post or have seen it. That's just one day. I can't tell you how many people watch my live streams days later, how many people watch them, well beyond when I first posted it. So what happens is I may not have many people on the live stream live, if you will, but lots more watch it later. And shout out to all those of you that are in fact watching me live, because here's the benefit of watching me live. One, you get to interact with me. And number two, you don't have to watch ads, because I don't turn ads on during my live stream. I turn them on after I complete my live stream. So I appreciate every single one of you. It looks like, I just so appreciate you guys being on. Angela, that's okay. The whole thing is, I know that you're busy. All of you are busy. And so I appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule to sharpen your saw, to get on. So if you watch it late, you always know you can come back and watch the replay. Okay, good. This helps me answer my question. I have a Samsung. This is what at Repilot Change for Better 5926 is saying. I have a Samsung screen and I record for students all the time to quickly answer their questions. Perfect. And so I'm telling you that works. So now I know that not only can you do it with an iPhone, you can absolutely do it with a Samsung or Android. So that's helpful. Thank you for sharing that with me. All right. Now, the next thing, how are you all engaging with your audiences? Even if they're small, how are you engaging? Are you connecting? I know that you just mentioned that you have the screen recordings. That's a way. Are you at least liking their comment? Are you thanking them for connecting with you? What types of things are you doing that's going to allow you to connect with your audience? All right, let me pull these comments back over here. If you don't know, and one day I need to take a picture so you can see this, I have a screen right here. This is where I have my notes. Over here is where I have my 4-year-old laptop. So I have a 4-year-old MacBook. It works fine. So I'm not buying a new one until it just tells me it's no longer going to work with me. I have lights all around me. So there's a lot of stuff. And then I have what's called a Stream Deck, which allows me to change screens and that. Why did I even tell you that? Because you'd be surprised at all the stuff that I have here. But none of this works without all of you being on here. And I just want to let you know how much I appreciate everything. The fact that you're on, the fact that you are commenting, the fact that, you are interested in learning, because I can remember when I was first starting out and I was trying to figure out how to put all of these pieces together. And I kept running into content creators who would say, well, when you're thinking about creating a digital product or when you're creating this, just ask your audience. And my response was always, I don't have an audience. So how am I going to ask an audience? Teach me how to build an audience. And there aren't a lot of people that are teaching how to build an audience from scratch. This is exactly what you need to do. It starts with your content. Your content acts as the magnet. Then you continue to nurture them on social media, and you finally extend an invitation to them via a lead magnet to join you in a more intimate setting, if you will, meaning your email list, because your email list is where people get the best stuff. So if you guys are interested and you're not yet on my email list, I believe I have a few lead magnets that are listed in the description below this video and feel free to grab them. Here's the other thing you should know. If there is a lead magnet on there and you are already on my list, but you want that lead magnet, feel free to grab it. You will not go through my welcome sequence a second time. I have it set up where people only go through my welcome sequence one time. Okay, so I'm not going to inundate you with the new stuff or the welcome series stuff. All right, now the next thing that I want to talk about, oh, we got to hurry up because I got a few steps. Plan your content and make sure that you do it in batches. So batch your planning strategy or your planning session, and then I want you to batch your content creation. So your brain can stay right in the flow of what it is that you are focused on. So just definitely do that. Use templates and repurpose. And I'm sorry, I'm kind of going through some of this fast because I don't want to get through, or I don't want to miss getting through everything. And then the other thing is, for purposes of creating your content, it is very important for you to use the schedulers that are built into these platforms, because what that's going to allow you to do is to take one thing off your plate by having to worry about posting something, every single day. If you schedule it in advance, the actual program will take over and will post that for you. So just kind of keep that in mind. Also, another thing is sharing personal examples. This is great content as well. Share, what you struggled with. Share, the types of things that you're doing. That is always helpful for allowing people who are new to your world to get to know you as well. And then, just let them know, or I want to let you know that growth happens behind the scenes. A lot of times, it's not what you're actually going to see. You're going to make or create content that's just going to flop. That's okay, because we all do that. Every single one of us has posted something that's just been an absolute flop. It's data. That's the way you're going to look at it. You are only responsible for creating it and adjusting when necessary, but you're not responsible for the fact that nobody chose to watch it. You just adjust and do something different. Okay. All right. Now, so we talked about having your content pillars in place. Remember, your focus is on a single platform, creating content regularly for 90 days. And then another 90 days. And then I am sure you can probably figure out it doesn't stop after the second 90 days. You keep going with it. You have to connect with people and you have to be consistent. All of these are the reasons why you don't want to be on multiple platforms. It's just too difficult to try and do all of that. Okay. All right. Now, let me just see if I've missed anything before I move into my mindset training, okay, which I'm just going to take a couple of seconds and take you through. But just understand, every single one of us started at zero. You're going to start at zero and then you'll grow from there. And I tell you, when you get those first 10 people who are following you, I mean, it's going to feel like you hit the lottery, because now you're feeling like, oh my goodness, this stuff is actually paying off. But it's going to take you time. It's just not going to happen overnight. And then, of course, my theory on comparing yourself. We don't look to the left and the right. You're just focused on moving straight ahead, because you don't know what is working for other people. And, what you might think is overnight success for somebody else, typically that's years in the making. I always say my overnight success, if you want to call it that, and it's certainly not. I'm not where I want to be. It was 15 years in the making. This stuff, all of us have to go through it. You have to grow through it. Maybe that's a better way to say it. So, okay, there's only so much you can put out in your niche, and you can start repurposing. Is it possible for you to add in another content pillar? Is there something else that would work for you that would allow you to create additional content that still aligns with your audience and your ICA? So kind of think about it that way. Okay. All right. Now, stay consistent. That's one of the best things that I can say with you. Continue to post, pick that one platform and so forth. All right, now there's one thing that I want to share with you as we get into this mindset training. And here's the thing. Let me get over here because I'm going to show this to you in just a second. Um, you're going to have times where you just don't feel like it. You're not up to it. You're not feeling what it is. You know what you should be doing, but you just don't feel like it. And see, this is going to separate the winners from the quitters because I don't think people are losers. I think they just quit. This is what's going to separate the winners from the quitters. So let me show you this. And I think hopefully you can see that. Let me bring this up just a little bit more. This is just the truth. Your biggest challenge is to show up when your mind is making the best excuses. I'm going to give you, and I probably shouldn't tell you this, but I'm going to tell you this anyway. Today was just one of those days where I just could not get it together. I just couldn't. I didn't sleep in late. I woke up, but I was just kind of, laying there on my phone doing stuff. Now, I knew I had a YouTube live at noon, but I was like, you know what? Maybe I should just post something and say, I'm going to have to do this tomorrow. And then because I have to read my own stuff sometimes. And then I remembered this, which is your biggest challenge is to show up when your mind is making the best excuses. That is going to be your biggest thing, because I'm going to tell you, most people, the minute it gets tough, the minute they don't feel like doing something, they don't do it. And if you can continue to focus on your goals. So, for example, for me, the way that I got myself out of it was, of course, I read this, but the second thing was I know what my goals are. And, there's only so many days that you can take off because you don't feel like it before it becomes inevitable. You're not going to hit your goal. Now, the way that I like to look at it is you've got to determine, are your future goals, the things you set, the things you said you wanted, more important to you than your current situation? Or is your current situation more important to you than your goals? That's really the way to look at it. We have to start being goal driven. If you're driven by your goals, then even when you don't feel like it, you'll do it. Now, understand, I'm not talking about if you're sick. If you're sick, you're sick. Take time off. I don't have a problem with that at all. If you need a mental health day, take time off, because I can surely tell you that is not what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about when sometimes your brain is just kind of saying, well, you really don't have to do it. Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. If you're just doing it because you don't feel like it, fix that. And the easiest way to fix that is to read your goals. The easiest way is to look at your kids or, your home situation. If you said you want to move from that apartment into a house and you haven't been able to do it, look at your goals. That'll get you going. Look at your vision board. Hopefully you have a vision board or something that you, in fact, look at on a regular basis. Those are the types of things that are going to keep your head in the game and keep you going. So, just understand that we all go through those things. Okay, which platform would you recommend for selling ebooks? System.io. I'm going to put a link below that. And then I'm going to link a video that I did. Matter of fact, I'm going to link the whole playlist below. Why? Because everything you need is in there. Okay, where you can not only have just the book itself selling, but you can also do upsells and you can do order bumps. All of that is built in, and your first funnel, if you will, you can create at no cost, and you can have up to 2,000 subscribers. So that's the one that I would definitely recommend. And then also, just had to ask your question. Okay, I appreciate you doing that. So, and also, thanks for the transparent. It happens to all of us. We're human. So, I go through it. But you know what I also think about is I think about the fact that there are people that may have moved things around in their day to watch this live. And I don't want to disappoint someone who's truly and genuinely interested in learning. So I got my butt up, got it in gear, and got on. So, and you know what's so crazy is within 2 seconds of being on and talking about it, I felt so much better. I felt like this is exactly where I was supposed to be. So just understand that we all go through that, but just allow your dreams and goals to be bigger than how you're feeling at a specific moment. Like I said, I'm not talking about if you're sick. I'm just talking about those days when you're just, you're looking for a reason not to have to do something. Okay. All right. So, as I always ask you, if this has been helpful to you, give it some thumbs up, share it with people that could also benefit. And if you think of questions that relate to this topic afterwards, by all means, drop them in the comments and I'll come back and answer those questions. And just know that building an audience is possible for you. Just make sure you do the things that we talked about in this training, and that's how you're going to build that audience. It doesn't happen overnight, but it will happen. It's exactly what I did, is just continuously creating content, and eventually my audience found me. And that's what's going to happen for you. Your audience is going to find you. All right. So thanks for being here. I know we went a little bit longer than I normally do, but I definitely want to make sure that I answer your questions and that I get the information out to you that's going to be helpful to you. So I'm going to link my entire playlist of live videos above here, so you can go back and watch any of them where I've covered a variety of topics. All right. So with that being said, we're going to wrap up. I'm going to say goodbye, and I will see you next week. Take care and have an awesome day.